Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about episode 3 of The Wheel of Time. So as always, we're going to talk non-spoilery thoughts and opinions up front, and then move over to the spoiler section where we can talk in more detail. So with that being said, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And if you're interested in watching my reactions to these episodes, you can check out my Patreon down below in the description. So with that being said, let's begin. So, our party is now split up after the events of last episode when Shadar Logoth went all crazy and dark and evil and stuff. It caused our entire group to split up. So now we have Lan and Moraine run off in one direction, Perrin and Egwene ran off in another direction, and Mat and Rand has run off in another direction. So we're all completely separated, but this is very true to the book, so I'm totally into it because now we can really get into their sub-arcs, their mini-arcs and stuff when they split up, which is a lot of fun because a lot of the more interesting stuff in the books happen in those mini-arcs. And even though, like, I had some complaints when I was reading the early books about them being all split up and stuff, I think it's going to service the show a lot better than it did the books, because it's very difficult to, like, have a full ensemble cast and like try to give everyone their proper time to shine and to give them all proper story arcs and development and everything. So by breaking them up, you can do like a few arcs per episode, or like, you know, just kind of break it down in a much more easier to digest kind of way. So I'm really excited about where this is going, especially because this episode has been the best so far. Each episode has been getting better and better, because the first few episodes was very much cramming a lot of information in at you, because I'm aware of a lot of the stuff of the world building and I was prepared for a lot of that stuff. It didn't come off as, you know, negative to me. I didn't like dislike it or anything, because I knew there was a lot of information they needed to feed. But to a non-book reader, I imagine a lot of that stuff probably was very jarring, and it's like whoa, holy crap, there's just so much stuff like in all of this, you know. So for non-book readers and stuff, I can understand, you know, feeling overwhelmed by the first few episodes. But I think from episode 3 going forward, we're really going to be able to get everyone super into the show, because these arcs are going to play out really nicely as shown by episode 3. So while I've loved the music and the score and all that stuff of the show in the first 2 episodes, I really like it in this one. We get some direct music, like similar to the song about Manetheren. We get another song from a new character in this episode, and it's really well done. The actor can sing really well, and it's like it encapsulates the character so well. I just love it so much. It's really well done. Same with the costuming. The more characters we see, the more stuff we see, their costumes and their outfits and everything. It's like very like period specific, but it's like it's hard to pinpoint that period, because like I said before, it should be very like modern yet not modern kind of thing, like, you know, after the world has broken and everything. So I really like that we continue that with character, even like all the side characters and stuff. Some of their outfits come off like pirate outfits and stuff, and others are like you know, old school medieval kind of petticoats kind of looking things and stuff. So I really like that variety that we have here. So because we're getting really into the show, each one of these videos is probably going to have a shorter and shorter non-spoilery section, because I want to kind of really get into the show and speculate more about what they're going to change and what they're going to do. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump right over to the spoiler section for this one. And spoiler warning for not only episode 3 of The Wheel of Time, but possible book spoilers. I don't know how much of that stuff's going to inform what I want to talk about, because I kind of do this off the top of my head. So be warned on that if you haven't read too far into the books. I'll try to be, you know, cautious of it and say spoiler warning or anything. But I know a lot of the people that watch my videos have already finished the series, and they're just kind of waiting for me to finish. So yeah. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into spoilers. So our group has been broken up into different little sections. We have Lan and Moraine, who ran off. We have Mat and Perrin, and we have Egwene and we have Egwene and Perrin, and we have Mat and Rand. So we first find out immediately in the beginning of the episode what happened to Nynaeve. After Nynaeve was taken by a Trolloc during the attack in the first episode, she basically was dragged off in order to be eaten, and then the Trolloc that was taking her to a place to, I guess, eat her, runs across this other dying Trolloc and decides, ooh, this one's a little bigger, like more meat or whatever, so he goes to eat that one, and then like leaves her on the ground, and she like comes to and stuff, and she's such a badass. She like immediately gets herself together and stuff and like runs off, and he chases her. and she ends up killing it by doing some stuff that was like reminiscent of Predator. Like it was so well done. I love how badass and strong and just like ready to go she is. Like I love that's some of my favorite characterization right now is Nynaeve and Perrin and Lan and actually yeah, I think and Matt, Lan, Nynaeve, and Perrin are my favorite as far as the way the actors are able to like embody the spirit of these characters. They're coming off so well, and I love it so much. And of course, after she kills the Trolloc in the sacred pool that we saw in the previous episode, this is where we get that little hair flip from the trailer and stuff. She kind of does the hair flip / braid tug kind of thing. I love how badass it is. She's so cool. And so far, she's not just like yelling at people and, being whiny kind of thing, which is the thing I didn't like from the book. So it's just coming across so great. And I just love the actress's portrayal of Nynaeve. It's just done so well. I just love it so much. And something about the building of the creatures, the logic of the intelligence of the Trollocs and stuff. I love the fact that they didn't just go with that typical lame TV show thing where she can just like hide in the water and like the Trolloc just somehow doesn't see her because he's looking so just straight ahead, I guess. Like he just can't look down and see her in the water or whatever. But like they actually have him like stab at the water and stuff and get in the water, so she actually had to get her hands dirty and stuff to kill it. So I thought that was really well done in terms of like making sure the reality of what we're talking about makes sense, So I really like that a lot. So I want to talk about the rest of the episode basically by breaking it down between the mini arcs. Since everyone is split up, we can kind of break it down by the different arcs. So first, let's talk about Perrin and Egwene. Perrin and Egwene, when they got out of Shadow Logoth, they jumped off the top of the wall and they were in the water. So they basically had to paddle across the river or whatever that was. It seemed like a lake or something. But either way, they're far separated from everyone else. They're in the cold. It's like freezing cold, and they're extra cold because they're in the water. And they're basically in this desolate plain kind of area, almost like a desert. But as they're trying to basically just get away and see if they can see anyone else, like see if they can find Matt or anything, the wolves are around them. They hear wolves howling and all that stuff, and they're just constantly following them. So they're like really terrified and everything. And it's just like, it's so tense. But at the same time, I'm like, no, those are friends. Those are wolf brothers. Like, they're probably trying to help and stuff. Like, that's why they're there. But obviously not knowing anything like that, you'd probably be so terrified. It's like, they're totally stalking us. They're going to eat us. Like, that was definitely what they were thinking. And I love, like, again, about the characterization. Egwene is pretty well done, but she hasn't, there's not a whole lot there yet. She isn't into her stuff yet. So we'll see how well this actress, like, can characterize and can embody the spirit of Egwene as we keep going. But Perrin, there's, like, all the stuff that they're adding to Perrin, it just keeps showing more and more every episode. Like, even down to, like, some subtle stuff. Like, when they stop for a bit after running away, they try to start a fire. They have, like, some dry woods and whatever, some twigs and whatnot, kindling, that's the word I was looking for. Perrin is trying to use the dagger that Matt gave him with a rock and like get some sparks off, but he was like, I got it, like he just kept trying to like reassure Egwene that he was able to do it, and it just like immediately felt like he put so much pressure on himself to be able to do this because he wants so desperately to be able to protect her because he feels like he failed in protecting his wife and stuff. So his just protective nature is like in hyperdrive. So it's just like, in the fact that it just wasn't working at first, it was just like heartbreaking again. It's like, I don't know how everything with this character right now already is just like heart-wrenching. And then I love the fact that when it actually does get started, like it gets started right after we see Egwene like starting to do like a little thing, and then like they immediately acknowledge, instead of like just having the audience wonder who it was or whatever, wonder what happened right there, they have Perrin immediately acknowledge it, like, was that you or me? I love that it's not going to just be something that we're going to not acknowledge. I love like yes, she's clearly going to be able to channel, and I like that it's also just for kind of the heck of it, like we're not going to say if that was the spark that he was getting off the rock or if that was her. I mean, we didn't see, any special effects or anything, at least that I could tell, but I mean, I don't know. So, like, that's the fun part. Like, we don't know if it was the Sparks or if it was Egwene. So that's really cool. I like that a lot. And as they keep going, you kind of start to realize, like, all the wolves, like, the wolves are getting closer and closer, so they like outright end up having to run away, and they're like running from the wolves, and like the huge pack is following them and stuff. And then like they get to the certain point where they see these tracks in the ground, and all the wolves have stopped chasing them, so they're like hanging back in the trees and stuff, and they haven't followed them. And it like becomes apparent that the wolves were herding them, were leading them to this location so that they could see those tracks, so that they could find the tracks and find other humans, other two legs, and like go and be safe and stuff. So we know, as people who know that the wolves are, you know, looking out for Perrin kind of thing, like we know that they weren't trying to eat them or stalk them to kill them. They were literally trying to lead them. And I love that it's Egwene who speculated this, because it feels like it's very appropriate for her to have like, you know, just these other thoughts kind of things, like the, you know, the basically to allow more than what is just average or typical to be possible. So I like the idea that she was the one who comes up with this thought, like we pretty much know it to be true. So it automatically leads to them following this caravan and stuff, and it ends up becoming like the way in which they end up meeting the Tinkers. So I thought that was really well done, how the Tinkers kind of show up. But I thought it was also hilarious, the fact that when they show up, it was like very creepy. It was like, are these people going to like all pull out knives and stab us and stuff? Like they were playing on the fact that the audience obviously wouldn't know who these people are. But I was sitting there just chuckling, because like we know them to be very nice people and stuff. So well, more or less very nice people. But just the whole setup of it, I just thought was kind of funny. And Aram, and Aram, we meet him, and he kind of has an interesting story arc ahead of him. And he's another character that has an interesting change. He has been aged up significantly. He still seems like he might be younger than the main cast, but I think he's been aged up significantly, which is a different thing. I think it's an interesting change, because the whole concept of the Tinkers like taking people's children, like that is their whole shtick or whatever, like that is their, you know, negative reputation that they have with other people or whatever, because they sway so many people with the way of the leaf and whatnot. So the idea that Aram, with total book spoiler and stuff, the fact that he ends up kind of abandoning their ways and picks up a sword and like becomes like a fighter and stuff, to me felt like a purposeful reversal of that idea that they are like taking people's children because they're seducing them with the way of the leaf, and then to have one of their children be turned to like the way of the sword or whatever. Like I thought that was like a much better kind of thematic kind of, you know, parallel kind of thing. But the fact that he's older is less of like, you know, them taking children, and he already seems to be kind of soft and lackadaisical about their ways, the way he speaks to Perrin and Egwene. So I don't know. It's a change, but I think it might have some interesting like ramifications. It'll allow us to do some more interesting stuff, because in the books that character he's around, but he's just, you know, he's just one of the many collected like C-level characters who don't get a whole lot of page time. So, before we talk about Matt and Rand, because their storyline is the largest storyline of the episode, let's talk about Moraine and Lan. So, after Egwene gets away from that Trolloc, she basically tracks Lan from the two rivers all the way to Shadow Logoth, all the way to where they are now. And she like comes up on him like with the knife behind him and stuff, like she did the end of the last episode and everything. And I love the fact that in that little confrontation they have, like Lan was basically calling her bluff, like, you're not going to try to kill me. And she straight up does try to kill him. I was like, yes, like call that bluff actually doing. He was even a little surprised. He's like, oh, you actually did try to do it, stuff. Like, that's really cool. And I love that we got to see a lot more of like her healing ability and stuff. Like she went and grabbed, you know, little pieces of nature or whatever, like little stuff off trees and little flowers and stuff, and made this poultice along with all the stuff that she always carries with her, which I'm a little surprised that that didn't get like left behind, or she had it with her at all. Or maybe she went back after she got away from the Trolloc, she went back to Emmonsfield or whatever and like got her stuff or something. But in any case, she had all her stuff, and we got to see her working her little wisdom skills and stuff. But we know that she uses the one power in her normal healing. So I wonder how that's going to play out. Because by the end of the episode, we do see it's working, and it's giving Moraine more energy. She's awake, and she's kind of alert and stuff. So it's working, but I don't know if it's working quite the same way as like the one power. I wonder if that's, I mean, it clearly has to still have an effect, because also when she's talking to Lan, he basically asks how she tracks them all the way there, and Nynaeve doesn't tell him. Like she, you know, leaves it as a mystery. And part of me says that that means that she knows a little bit more about how to use the one power than, it's assumed right now, because we're assuming she knows like absolutely nothing. Same with Egwene or whatever. At least that's Moraine and Lan's perception kind of thing. So, but I don't know. I don't know. Tracking with the one power at that skill level feels very, that's a stretch. But I don't know. It's something. Clearly, she did it. But I thought it was really cool. We got to see like more of her skills and all that kind of stuff. And Lan, like, we kind of show Lan's priorities. Like, he's like, yes, don't be mad at Moraine. I left your friends. I picked her up and took off. And I love that that's another thing that happened in the previous episode that I was like, oh, wow, that really just happened. But they immediately will acknowledge it and they won't just kind of ignore it. So it's not being hidden. It's not like clumsy writing or anything like that. It's all deliberate, and it does come back, and it adds to the drama and the tension between these characters. And I really like that we're getting a lot of that. Like, it's coming across so well, and this episode just really has all the strengths of everything that the show has the promise of. So Lan, Moraine, and Nynaeve basically have the shortest like arc in the story, and after Nynaeve kind of heals Moraine, they travel some more, and they end up in what appears to be like this mini stronghold of other Aes Sedai, which we find out basically is the camp of the Aes Sedai from the very first episode in that cold open when they were going after Logain. Who, I mean, it has to be Logain, right? The guy, he didn't look exactly like him to me, but the fact that he was already kind of going insane, I feel like has major ramifications for his story going forward. But they've already changed his story so much in that we already know he's going to be a bigger part of the early episodes, more so than he was in the early books and stuff. So that's already going to be a change. I'm just, ready to strap in and go for the ride on the Logain stuff, whatever they're doing with that. I kind of really appreciate that we did meet back up with that group from that first episode, because with, like I was saying before, like, having no book context or anything like that, those first two episodes really kind of throw a lot at you, especially that cold open with no context or any information. You're just like, what? But like, to me, I thought it was awesome because it immediately pulls you into it, and like, you kind of understand these stakes. But I guess without any context, you're just like, what? It comes off as weird and random and stuff. So I like that they're bringing that back, and it's not just going to be like this weird thing that lingers off to the side. So, all right, so before we wrap up, let's go ahead and talk about Matt and Rand's story arc. So Matt and Rand seem to have gone in the complete opposite direction of Perrin and Egwene. They are in the mountains, whereas Perrin and Egwene are just in like the desert or something. So I thought it was hilarious. They're basically climbing rocks and all this stuff, and Matt's just complaining and complaining, which is very true to his characterization in the books. But I guess it can be a part of his character from the show as well. But at this point, I'm starting to see other things that seems like signs and stuff. So I'm starting to see like his personality shift. He's a little darker. He's complaining more. He's whining. He's being like antagonistic towards Rand and stuff. And it's all, happening right after he gets that dagger. So I'm seeing a lot of that happening. So I don't know if I want to like lump in his, being lazy about the work and the chopping wood and all that stuff and looking for ways to get out of that. Because that is very true to Matt. But I don't know if I want to ascribe that to his actual characterization or if effects from the dagger just yet. Like, because I love the fact that those effects seem to be very subtle if I'm not completely misreading it and they haven't even started affecting him yet. So, assuming I'm not misreading it, I like that it's already starting in this very interesting, subtle way. And this, in their storyline, is also where we get introduced to Tom Maryland, a fan favorite, a really cool character who at the beginning, when I was first reading the early books and stuff, I was like, well, who is this guy? Like, the term Gleeman, like, bugged me and stuff, because it didn't make any sense to me, because I thought it was just a weird fancy term for bard, which it kind of is, but, like, he's much more than that, so it deserves its own kind of unique title and stuff. So I really like that we introduce him with the song. It's very on point. It's very on brand for him and stuff. Even though that's a different intro from the books and stuff. And I really like how we immediately get a sense of who he is, from the taking Matt's money to the singing to the donation to the Gleeman, and like his kind of jovial but not overly friendly kind of attitude and stuff. I really like this characterization a lot, and I look forward to more to come. And like later on, his interaction with Matt when Matt tries to go take the little thing from the IO in order to sell it and stuff. That entire interaction, that entire conversation, I thought was just like pitch perfect. Their entire interaction, their chemistry between those two is so good because we know they spend a lot of time with each other later on. So I really like that they. I just remembered it just occurred to me. Barney won't be in season 2, and I'm assuming not, season 3 or anything. So I just hope the recast guys like has that kind of chemistry with him, and it just comes off as well because I am loving the way Barney's characterization of Matt is going so far. It just that just actually just hit me. I'm like so depressed about it now, like because I am loving the way he has portrayed his character so much, and then we're going to lose him. I'm going to be very optimistic for the recast actor whose name I don't know, but I'm just going to be super optimistic and hope it works. Just fingers crossed and stuff. But yeah, Barney is doing an excellent job, and I love his characterization. I love his interaction and his chemistry with Tom, who the actor's name I also don't know right now. But I love the way they play off each other, and it just like has so much promise for the future. And while Matt is doing like all this other stuff, Rand is being like the responsible one. Like they both were supposed to chop some wood because after they got into the White Spring Inn, which is an actual book arc kind of thing, so when they actually get there, like they're more or less debating on going to the White Tower or going back home and stuff. But either way, they need money so that they can travel. So they volunteered to kind of work in the inn. And the innkeeper, she gives them like, a crap ton of wood, like a mountain of logs to split and everything. So they're supposed to be chopping wood. Matt just, this is the part where I was assuming it was an influence of the dagger because he just seemed to like immediately get so antagonistic to Rand, just like being mean almost. And it just felt very random, kind of just out of nowhere, kind of stepped up to this other level and stuff. So I really took it as, influence of the dagger and stuff. But it also is, like I said, it is very much within character for him to like shirk responsibility and not want to do work and stuff. So he ends up leaving and stuff, and Rand is still doing the work and all that. He chops a crap ton of wood, and the innkeeper is like, "Yeah, you've earned a bed or whatever." So she goes and takes him to the place where he and Matt can bed for the night and stuff. She like makes this comment basically alluding to Matt and Rand being together, being like, having couples spat or whatever. She was like, I don't know, like, stuff seems a little more intense than just friends. And Rand's like, no, trust me, if I wanted a man, I could do better than Matt. Whatever. I was like, that's hilarious. That's like such a great line. But then like I can't tell, like, I don't know, some part of me want to say that they kind of like no homoed it because it was like he's very okay with the concept of being mistaken for being in a relationship with another guy, so he's like okay with it or whatever. But then they immediately kind of play on this thing of her staying to drink with with Rand, sorry. But another part of me is like, well, that is really just her play. She kind of put that out there as a way for him to correct her so that she could then invite herself, to have a drink with him, more or less, to kind of play him, to manipulate him a little bit, because we find out she is a dark friend. And I was like, holy crap, because like it's so funny to me because so much of the early book stuff slips my mind, like so much of it, because I'm so like intense on the stuff that's happening right now in the current books that I'm going through. So like stuff like the dreams and stuff like that keeps slipping my mind. Like the fact that dark friends can be like any and everybody. I'm so in my head right now in the other books like Black Aja and the Forsaken and everything. I'm just like so much about that I completely keep forgetting that it could be anybody. Like she said, from like a fisherman up to a queen, it could be all these people that could be dark friends and stuff. So when it's like revealed that she's a dark friend, she goes to like lock the door and stuff after talking about the braid, and I completely didn't notice that when she had like the braid, all of a sudden it was braided and stuff. I thought that was just so well done, and it was just subtle. Like she's like kind of a smaller girl and stuff. She's like not very physically intimidating, but like just she had this air about her that was like, whoa. Like I just kind of felt it. Like you felt the like she felt like a dark friend. I don't even know how else to put it. Like it just she did it so well. It just came across so well. And then like when they and like clear, I guess here we get the first instance of Rand channeling, because when they're in the room, she's basically trying to keep Rand there because she needs Matt to get there too, because she basically wants, she, you know, nobody knows who the dragon is right now. She wants to deliver them all to the dark one, in order to get, you know, special reward or whatever. And, so this has to be like the first instance we get of Rand channeling. So he tries to get out of the room, and the door is like iron. I mean, because it looked like wood from what we saw, but she said it's iron, and 3 men couldn't break it down. And Rand like hits against it 3 times and like breaks it down. And I mean, but there was no real cue or anything like that to indicate that it was clearly channeling. But it has to be channeling. I mean, this is when he starts channeling in the books, because he just starts doing things and doesn't understand what he's doing, and, you know, all that stuff, like natural budding magic, like typically how it goes. So he, this clearly has to be an instance of channeling, which I just thought was cool. It's like done so subtly. You can sit there and debate it, like, is it or was it not, or is it? Even like, I know that it clearly has to be channeling, but I'm still up here like, is it? Was it? Maybe? I don't. So like, I love the fact that they're able to get it across in that way. So like, that's another point to how well the show is being produced and like just done, and some of the like the directorial decisions and things. Like, I just love how it's all like working out so far. And there was another scene that just clearly has to be a reference to Terminator, because she's like running after them with Rand's sword and stuff. It's a total Terminator run. And I just thought it was so perfect, and she like pulls it off brilliantly. I just thought it was so well done. And she like, I love like when they're sitting there talking about it and stuff, and she's like, no, the Dark One is going to save us. He's going to stop people from getting hurt, and he's going to break the wheel and all this stuff. And it's like, you can tell she like joined the dark or whatever from this very tortured place, from this place of like suffering in her life and wanting more and all this stuff, like how she talked earlier about wanting to see anything different and all this stuff. So it's like people's motivations for joining the dark and becoming a dark friend and stuff is like so varied in and of itself too. Like, so I just love that all that kind of stuff is coming across. It's just like, this episode is clearly the best episode so far, and there's just so much to chew on, and I just love it so much, and I just can't wait till we get more and more of this stuff. And I'm kind of appreciating the fact that there is some stuff from the early books that I am like forgetting, and kind of like, you know, like, because this series is definitely ripe for like reread kind of stuff, because there's so many little things, but there's a lot of that kind of stuff that's just fallen by the wayside for me because of where I am in the books. And the show is kind of rekindling a lot of it, and they're making use of a lot of that kind of stuff in a lot of like subtle ways. So book readers and non-book readers and just casuals and stuff can really get a lot out of it from multiple perspectives. So I really like the show, and I really like how well it's being done, and I'm super excited for the next episode. So I guess we gotta wait like a whole week now to get a new episode. We're spoiled with the first 3 episodes. These are really, really well done. And I think they kind of understood that the first few episodes were like really heavy in exposition and stuff. So they're like, we got to give you 3 episodes, because the show clearly hits its stride on episode 3 and going forward. So they clearly knew, like, we got to, you know, in order to get them hooked, this is like a watch the first 3 episodes. And if you're not into it at that point, then we understand. Because like, that's kind of how I feel. These 3 episodes have shown basically all the strengths and weaknesses that I think will exist in season 1. And if you got to episode 3 and if you weren't totally hooked and totally into this journey, then I can understand if you just, it's not for you, because at that point it's just not going to be for you. Because I don't expect it to change too much from the way it is, at least in tone and tenor and the way the action plays and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, but I, for one, am severely enjoying it. I am really, really enjoying it. And there's something, too, I want to talk about before I go. There's a comment. I'm so sorry. I can't remember your name at the moment. But you left a comment in one of the other videos bringing up this thing from the first episode that I didn't notice until I went back and looked at it. When Perrin is, when he turns around and kills his wife and, like, chops her, I didn't notice, holy crap, she's standing behind him with the big hammer over his head. Like, the position the Trolloc was in, where Perrin, why am I mixing up everybody's name? So the position the Trolloc was in when Perrin was hacking it to death was so over here to the point where there's no way in hell she was trying to come and help him. She was going to kill Perrin before, like, as, you know, and use the attack as a cover. Basically, she was definitely going to kill him. So that makes me wonder if she was a dark friend too, in the same way, like the subtlety of this girl being a dark friend and stuff. Like, maybe like that's a little bit inspiration of what happens to Matt later with the Aiel dark friend that he was like dating or whatever. Like, so that would kind of suck though if they took that from Matt and gave it to Perrin this early. But like, how do we know? Because Perrin clearly doesn't know. He's just wrapped in guilt and all this stuff, so he probably doesn't even see it. But I do, like, I don't know. So it's like, I just hope if that is a thing, if she was a dark friend and we can get some proof on it, I hope there's some more, interplay with that later and we come back to it. But like, that was such a really cool catch, and I'm so happy like y'all are in the comments to let me know about stuff like that I missed. Because I've seen these episodes now. I've seen every episode at least twice now, and there's still just like little things that like it connects to tiny little book things that like I'm just going to miss. So I'm glad you all are around and let me know about it. So yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I've been going on this for a while. So this has been episode 3 of The Wheel of Time. I'm really enjoying the show. I'm pretty sure you all are as well, because most of you are even bigger book fans than I am. So yeah, let's, as always, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And if you're interested in my reactions to these episodes, they are available down on Patreon. The link is in the description below. Let me know in the comments, what was your favorite part of the episode? What about the show so far has you the most excited? Let me know about that in the comments down below. And as always, I will talk to y'all next time. Peace.